Now at noon, we continue to work major developing news, the capture of James Whitey Bulger.
The arrest marked the end of a long and exhaustive hunt for America's most wanted men, for one of America's most wanted men. And this is a great day for Boston's law enforcement community.
A news conference wrapped up in Boston just a short time ago on the capture of the notorious Boston mob boss who has been on the run for 16 years. He is suspected in 19 murders.
As we reported live on Eyewitness News this morning, the FBI arrested the 81-year-old Bulger and his longtime girlfriend at an upscale apartment in Santa Monica, California last night. Now, both are due in federal court later today. The arrest happened just days after the FBI launched a new campaign asking people to be on the lookout for Bulger's girlfriend, Catherine Gray.
Target 12 investigator Tim White has been working on the Whitey Bulger case for years. He joins us now with more on the arrest that ended Bulger's long flight from the law. Tim?
For the past 16 years, investigators have tracked leads in London, in Italy, but in the end, they found the elderly Irish gangster and his 60-year-old girlfriend hiding in plain sight. Notorious Boston gangster James J. Whitey Bulger and his longtime girlfriend Catherine Gregg surrendered peacefully to FBI agents Wednesday night. Investigators showed up at his Santa Monica, California apartment and conducted surveillance that afternoon.
At approximately 5:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, using a ruse, agents and other task force members lured Mr. Bulger out of his apartment. Agents determined that the individual was, in fact, Mr. Bulger. He was placed under arrest without incident.
Officials would not elaborate on the ruse. The FBI says Bulger and Gregg were living under the alias Charles and Carol Gasco. Inside the apartment, they found a stockpile.
The best way to characterize it would be a variety of weapons, guns, and a very substantial amount of cash.
The FBI says they were tipped off Tuesday by someone who watched an FBI ad campaign this week targeting Gregg. The spot ran during daytime television in 14 cities.
If I'm even remembering them, just a regular couple.
Bulger was a black mark for the FBI. He fled Boston in 1994 after being tipped off by an FBI agent that an indictment was coming down. He's accused of murdering 19 people and running a lucrative and ruthless criminal organization, all while being a high-level informant for the feds.
Although there are those who have doubted our resolve at times over the years, it has never wavered. We followed every lead, we explored every possibility, and when those leads ran out, we did not sit back and wait for the phone to ring.
In the end, James J. Whitey Bulger will be brought back to federal court in South Boston, the same neighborhood where investigators say he ran a reign of terror.
Today marks the moment of when James Whitey Bulger will finally face justice for a number of his crimes, including extortion, money laundering, RICO conspiracy, and RICO murders related to 19 individuals.
Bulger is scheduled to appear in federal court in Los Angeles this afternoon. Authorities expect him to be returned to Boston within 48 hours. Patrick, Danielle.
So again, Tim, somebody called in this tip just a short time ago, and I understand there's still that substantial reward out there, for information leading to his capture. What happens with that?
Well, the reward for Whitey Bulger is $2 million, and the reward for Catherine Gregg is $100,000. At that press conference that we heard there, they were still talking about the Department of Justice determining if the person who tipped them off would be eligible to that reward. So we'll find out.
All right, Tim, you worked in Boston for a decade, spent a lot of time chasing Whitey Bulger's story around. What was the perception of Whitey in and around the city of Boston?
Well, at that time, especially in the mid-90s, Whitey Bulger had this persona of being sort of a Robin Hood figure in South Boston, that he protected the streets and his people down there, and that he wouldn't let drugs into South Boston. But in fact, the DEA, the FBI, says he ran a lucrative drug operation. He brought drugs into that area, and in his circles, he turned out to be the worst thing that anyone could be, again, in his circles, and that is a rat. So he burned a lot of bridges, and his perception there has changed quite a bit since then.
One more quick question for you. We all want to know, when are we going to see Whitey Bulger? You know, everybody wants visual proof that this has, in fact, been the guy that's been captured by the FBI. And when will he be back in Boston?
Well, we think he'll be back in Boston within 48 hours, but that's subject to change. The Boston Globe reported he's in poor health, but as far as when we're going to see him, unfortunately, federal court, no cameras are allowed in there. Maybe we'll get a mugshot through a Freedom of Information request, but he does have other charges in other states, so that might be our first real opportunity when he appears, hopefully in a state courtroom.
All right, Tim White, thank you so much for the latest on that.